Hello and a very warm welcome. I want to talk about something that happened in Brazil. Um, yeah, I kind of forgot about this, but it's just come to my just got notification here. Max takes jibe at Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton, he's known for undoing his seatbelts. When he wins a race, he likes to get wave to the crowd, and it's become a big thing, even though he does it all the time. For him to get a fine for that is just shows, like I did yesterday, the incompetence of these stewards. Because it's not the first time he's done it, but they give him a fine for doing it at Brazil, which is madness. When he does it all the time. So again, really no consistency. Lewis is known for doing that, especially at Silverstone. Likes to loosen his belts and wave to the paying spectators, the paying public. I don't really see an issue with this. Of course, people will say safety, but it's not as if he's racing. He's on the cool-down lap, and he's acknowledging the fans. I don't see an issue with it. I don't see an issue if Max did that at Zandvoort. I think that's good for the spectacle, because they're on a cool-down lap. It's not as if they're flat out. Yeah. So I don't really understand it. I don't know why Lewis got a fine for that when he's done that consistently over the years. It's not a new thing. Why bring it up at Brazil? So yeah, Max has had a sarcastic little jibe. Max sarcastically has said he would considering loosening his seatbelts rather than touching a car, as it is cheaper. So a little jibe there. Max obviously touched Hamilton's rear wing at Brazil. He got a £50,000 fine, which at the time, just a slap on the wrist. That's nothing to a guy who's on, 25, 30 million a year? And then Hamilton also got fined for loosening his belts. I'm not. I think that's honestly, I do. I think it's ridiculous. Like, they punish him now for loosening his belts when he's been doing it for ages. It really does make no sense. I think it's good for the spectators. Even if Max did it, say at Zandvoort, Carlos Sainz does it at Barcelona, Giovinazzi does it at Monza. I think it's good for the fans. In that aspect. Because, do we want the drivers just to be robotic, drive around, don't acknowledge the paying public, even though they've probably saved up all year to come and watch Formula 1? It's not a safety issue, really, is it? It would be a safety issue if we were racing, but on a cool-down lap where we're not really approaching top speeds, I don't see it as a big issue. Yeah, he should not have got a fine for loosening his belts. Yeah. I like that. I like the old school. I like when Mark Webber sat on Alonso's car and they drove back to the pits. I like that aspect. I like the history of that. Famously, Mansell and Senna. I like that. I like the old school of Formula 1, but it's not allowed now, which is a shame. I've got to say, I do like that. I like the history of the sport. Drivers coming back on cars, but it's all PR bullshit now. It's safety. He loosens his belts to acknowledge the paying public, yet you fine him for it. We've had Mark Webber on his last race. He literally took his helmet off and went round the circuit. I bet he didn't get a fine for that, did he? Of course, and he shouldn't have got a fine. No one ever will probably do that again, where on the cool-down lap, he took his helmet off and he was riding around without a helmet. Massive safety flaw. That's worse than loosening your belts. Interesting, but we know they're inconsistent.